All right. All right. Thank you. So tonight I wanted to take a step back from the normal discussion of, timing marks and universes and things and talk about what we're really doing. We're putting on a show. And I don't know about you guys, but come November, I'm usually pretty sick and tired of the songs. And the only thing saving me from going crazy is looking outside my window and seeing um, kids dancing on the sidewalk, see people taking pictures, people sitting and enjoying the display. So tonight I want to talk about a few things related to that, such as creating an online presence, um, then using that to promote your show through various methods, um, some free, some paid. And before you think I'm crazy for paying for advertising, you'll see what I mean. It works pretty well and isn't that expensive. Talk about collecting for charity. Then some of the downsides of doing all this promotion, which is mitigating traffic, working with your neighbors, and possibly having to work with your town. I want to thank everybody who took the survey. We had over 130, 140 respondents, so I'll be incorporating the results of that where applicable throughout the deck. And I'll take a pause for questions after the social media stuff before we get into charities and traffic and neighbors and Supreme Courts and all that good stuff. What I will not be covering, I'm not going to touch HOAs with a 10-foot pole. I don't live in or anywhere near one. Those are very specific, and I'll let, if you are involved with an HOA, reach out to other people who may. All I know is those things are usually pretty ironclad and miserable to deal with. I'm not going to talk about TV stations or newspapers, a little old school media, newspapers on the decline. Not a lot of people get them. If your local newspaper runs a promotion or a contest, by all means, sign up for it and get listed with that. But I'm going to focus primarily on social media. A little bit about me. So my name is Brian Weber from Weber Family Lights. I'm located here in central New Jersey. I've been doing this for 5 years, so I'm not a veteran quite by any means, but I've been around long enough to be dangerous, and I've had a steady growth in my display, both in the number of pixels and elements as well as traffic. So I'm basing this information on my own experiences. I do have a background in marketing analytics, including social media. And being here in Central Jersey, we have a very dense population of displays. There's actually 3 ABC Great Light Fight contestants within 10 minutes of my house. I know them all well. We've had great discussions. And so especially talking about traffic and things like that. And as somebody mentioned, it's always a nice or an interesting conversation at the expo with the Great Light Fight folks. I've had the ability to do that over a couple of beers. So a little bit where I'm coming from. The thing I want to get, I think, right out in front is you don't have to do anything. If you turn your lights on, they will come. Tell your family and friends, people will stop by. And in fact, in some of the survey comments, people said, I don't need to promote it. I've been doing it for 12 years and it's just grown steadily. So you absolutely don't have to proactively promote your display. However, if you are new, or if you've been doing this a while and you live in a remote area, or otherwise you would just love to see a few more cars outside, especially if you want to collect money for charity, the more people that show up, the more money you can raise for a good cause. I'm going to talk about some ways to help you do that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create your online presence. Now, traditionally, this would be what I would refer to, hold on, before I get to there, what do we want to share with people? We want to share with people our address, including our cross street, the hours and dates of your display. If you are raising money for charity, you certainly want to include that. You typically want to tell people if you are rain or shine or weather permitting. And especially when we talk about Facebook, you always want to include some kind of photo to grab users' attention, whether it's a wide shot of your display or a close-up of a pixel, something to get their attention. So we need to store this information somewhere online. And traditionally, that would be a .com website, which I don't believe you need as much anymore. If you are not selling anything, you don't need a shopping cart. If you're not, I think one good use case for a traditional .com website would be if you have a lot of videos and you really don't want to deal with the hassle of YouTube or Vimeo, you could host those videos directly and not have to worry about copyright. But a traditional website is going to cost you about $10 a year to register the domain name, and hosting, it varies widely, but it's going to cost you about $5 a month. If you do want to create a traditional .com website, I suggest looking for a hosting provider that either includes or for a small fee provides WordPress. WordPress is it's a layer that allows you to type into it like a word processor, and it does all the formatting. You select a theme, and it does everything for you. So it makes creating posts very easily. So again, while a traditional website could store and organize more information, the reality is I think Facebook is where people live and breathe these days, for better or for worse, and allows you to communicate better with your followers. So when I talk about Facebook, I'm talking about creating a separate page. If you're not aware of how to do this, within your personal page, you can click on this little arrow and drop down and do create a page. From my screenshot, I already have this. Your show page will be linked to your personal page purely for administrative reasons. There's otherwise people don't see or have access to your personal page unless you post to your own display site as yourself. But it's just an easy way to be able to manage it. When you click on create page, today you have two different options. You have business or brand or community group. We're more of a business or brand. It's more address focused and helping you drive traffic to an address. There's a get directions button available, things like that. You need to give yourself a name. And while you certainly don't need to overthink it, you just want to think, all right, what do you want to refer to yourself as? Some people do it geographically, lights on Elm Street. Some people do it, blah, 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 family lights. Whatever it is, that's you're creating your brand. You should use that consistently. And there's always a few people who pick something geographically and then move a year later and have to start over again. Facebook's going to ask you for a hierarchy or a category of what you are. And there's nothing that fits us. I use performance and event venue. Other people have done community arts theater, things like that. This really doesn't matter other than Facebook requires that you pick something to categorize yourself. You don't have to overthink it. You put in your address and you have a page. Now, a Facebook page acts just like your regular personal page, except for instead of friend requests, people like your page. And while you can configure a business or a group Facebook page to only display information to people who have liked it, in general, I don't think that's pretty common amongst our pages. We're not trying to trick people into like our page to get information. But otherwise, it acts just like a regular Facebook page. You have posts, you have events. You could create an event for your opening night. You can create an event for when Santa comes by. You can share other people's information. It acts just like a regular Facebook page. What's nice about it is it gives a platform for your users or for your viewers to interact with you. They can message you. I have some screenshots here, some actual messages I've received, people either clarifying our address, asking if elderly people would be able to view the show, or sometimes they just drop a note saying they really enjoyed your show. So it's a great way to be able to interact with your viewers. They'll be able to clarify questions if they have, if they want to come by and they need some information, or again, the feedback is nice. Quick tip, Facebook does give you a special badge if you respond to messages quickly. I think it's something like if you respond to 99% of your messages within 20 minutes or something, that gives you a little indicator and just alerts people that messaging is a great way to get a hold of you. All right, so what do you want to post on Facebook? You want to post pictures of your setup, information about your charity. You could post a poll with your playlist and have people vote on their favorite song, and maybe that will help you next year when you kind of churn through your music, which one people did or did not like. Whether you are rain or shine or weather permitting, anytime there's bad weather, you probably want to post if you're open or if you're not going to be. Facebook really tries to promote their live video. Their live video posts are typically, per their algorithms, viewed more than regular posts. The catch here is that Facebook copyright can be pretty strict. While when YouTube senses copyright, it typically just throws an ad on it and maybe restricts it from certain countries. Facebook could take your post down, and if you do it again, they could put your Facebook page into timeout. Now, the reality is what I do is I have the music on pretty quietly in the background, and I'm talking over it. I'm saying, welcome, everybody. We're located here. Our charity's here. This year we have this many lights, blah, 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 blah. And I've never had an issue with copyright. So as long as the music's not blaring and crystal clear, if it's on but in the background and you're giving information over it, I think a Facebook Live post, a live post is very beneficial, and it's going to get a lot of visibility to your users. Anytime you have a post, an informative post, you can pin it to the top of your page. You just pick a post, click on the dots, and choose pin to top of page. That way, as new people come to your site, that is the first thing that they will see. So again, that post should have the general information. Now, I'm going to come back to Facebook a little bit later when I talk about advertising and a little bit more about that. Facebook offers some great analytics. For better or for worse, they've been in the news about it. They know a lot about you, whether you like it or not. I can see here that 72% of my followers are women, and it's not because of my dashing good looks. It's because traditionally, or somewhat stereotypically, women or mommies are the ones planning what to do with the kids this weekend versus the dads. I get some great information about referrals. So on the left-hand side here, of all my Facebook traffic, 63% comes from within Facebook, 20% local blogs, which I'll talk about, 40% Google, 3% from my own website, and this little sliver here for those various Christmas-dedicated search providers. When I take out the Facebook part, half my traffic's coming from local blogs and Google. All right, Instagram is another tool. Instagram is owned by Facebook, and in fact, you can create a Instagram page, again, business brand page linked to your Facebook display page. You can see comments combined in the same location and manage them together. Obviously, Instagram is very image focused. It's hashtag focused. I did not use Instagram last year. Somebody had already created a hashtag for Weber Family Lights, and I already have some posts. This one in the middle is not my house. I don't know where they got that from, but this one's old. This is from a couple of years ago, and these are from last year. So it's pretty cool that even before I was on Instagram, people were already taking videos of my house. Now that I actually have a Instagram site or Instagram account for my display, if people are taking pictures in front of my house and when they save it or post it, it will suggest to them to tag my display page. And so this year I look forward to kind of getting some traffic that way. Then we have Google location. You can be listed on Google, and this can help you help people find you. So what this does, it gives you, it treats you as a business. I'm registered as a Christmas store. The guy who does the display around the corner from me is also listed as a Christmas store. That's where I got the idea. You can link it to your Facebook page so people see your Facebook reviews. Google will do their own reviews. Really upset about this 4.8. Some guy said my music was out of sync, and I just think his car radio was messed up. Anyways, in order to do this, it's pretty easy. You go to wherever your house is on Google, you right click, and you choose add a missing place. And so that at least starts the process of creating a place. You're going to need a name of the place, address, and again, category. The Christmas store seems pretty popular. Somebody else, I think, has done either a theater or something like that. So that creates the location. But then you want to do is you want to claim it. And by claiming it, it gives you kind of like admin access to update pictures and update the hours of operation and things like that. And when you click on claim this business, very simply, Google will send a postcard to the address with a PIN number, and you log in, you type in that PIN number, and therefore your Google page or your Gmail, whatever account you use for Google, will take ownership of that location. What's really fun is once you do that, you'll be listed in Zillow. And if you don't know what Zillow is, it's a real estate app. And so no lie, the house across the street from me is for sale. It actually looks like it got bought the other day. But anybody looking for houses in this area and thought, wow, this is cool. I wonder if I want to buy this house, they would actually see this Weber Family Lights icon and click on it and see my beautiful display. So I'd like to think whoever bought this house already knows that I'm here, but we'll see about that. All right, so now you have this online presence. You have Facebook, you have Instagram, and stuff like that. Now you got to get some followers. My first suggestion is advertise it to yourself. People are likely to just drive by, see your house, and stop. I get messages on Facebook saying, I didn't know your house existed. I was driving around and I saw it and I think it was great. And then the reason why they knew to come to my Facebook page is because in my either announcements, on my P10 panel, throughout my display, I just have a quick message, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, whatever the case may be. Even if you don't have a P10 or Tune 2, one of my first years, I put the Facebook logo on my standard 16 by 50 mega tree, and people thought that was pretty cool. They're amazed, wow, you have a Facebook logo on your tree. Gets the word out there. And on the left here, I have advertising my Snapchat, which I'll talk about later on my P10. I too am also upgrading my P10s to P5s this year, at least for my Tune 2. So I'll be joining you all in that endeavor. Now, where I really get the most viewers, and this is a nice dedicated and focused group of people, is community Facebook groups. Every community has them. Search for the word your town or your area or whatever, and community, search for the word moms, search for the word helping, whatever the case may be. And these are the pages where people ask for a pediatrician or a recommendation for a plumber, or they complain about the CVS going in the corner, or the always awkward, somebody asking for a good divorce attorney. What's also nice about these is come December, people start posting saying, hey, where are all the Christmas lights? Where's a good neighborhood? These are actual screen grabs from the various groups that myself and my wife belong to here in the community. And these are people that live in your area actively looking for, where are the great places to go. So this is a great place for you to go out and post. So during the season, we will keep our eye on these pages. You can use the search function to search for the word Christmas lights inside each group and find a post and comment on it. When you get big enough, or when you've been around for a little while, people will start recommending it's pretty cool seeing like here, just Bretton Drive, that's me. The first time somebody recommends your site or your display without you even having to go in and comment is pretty cool. You can also post directly to these pages. However, make sure you read through their rules. Some of them have guidelines or rules around how frequently you can post and things like that. But these community Facebook groups, again, these are people who live in your area, who are actively looking for the best Christmas light displays, and it's a great place to get information out to those users. The next best place is local blogs. These are whether websites or blogs, whatever you want to call them. They kind of fall into the same idea of either a family blog, a mommy blog, local tourism. To find them, just go to Google and search for best Christmas light displays in Poughkeepsie or wherever you may be, and you'll see a list. And the top 5 or so, click through to them. Sometimes the articles will have an author with an email address. Other times you can just post directly or email directly to that site. Give them your link to your Facebook page, information about your display, and then you can get listed with these other sites. They're typically refreshing these lists around November. When you've been listed with some of them for a while, sometimes they will email you asking you, are there any updates, updated picture, updated light count, things like that. Or again, if you're listening for the first time, wait till around November to reach out to these local blogs. When again, you're basing this on the Google search results. So if somebody is searching for light displays, these are the results that are coming up, and this is where you would want to be listed. Now, these Christmas light directory sites, I have nothing against them. However, the analytics say that it drives very little traffic to my site. Now, it's still good to be listed with them because, one, there's still a handful of people that use it. And two, at a very high level, the way Google ranks your site is if more other websites link to you, it increases the reputation of your own site. So the more places that linked back to you, the more likely you're going to show up in Google search results. So listing with these sites, these are kind of the 3 main ones that came off the top of my head. But again, based on what Facebook's telling me as far as people coming in, not a lot of traffic. I think the reality is in this day and age, people are going to Google and searching directly. I don't think they're going to search for a Christmas light directory and then search for their house when there's easier ways to get to that information. All right, so those are all the free ways to drive people to your display. And I would talk about some paid options. And the main one is Facebook ads. So Facebook, normally when you post a Facebook page or a Facebook post, the only people that see it are people that liked your page, or if those people like it or share it, then they're friends. When you run a Facebook ad, which is taking an existing post and promoting it, or what they call boosting it, it will display that post to others as you've selected. So here I had a post which I boosted, telling me that 710 people saw it organically, meaning 710 people that either already liked my page or their friends saw it. Another 1,500 plus saw it because I did the promotion. I'm going to do a quick demo of kind of what that looks like. So I have here, when you choose to boost a page, this is what you see. You select a dollar amount. So in my case right now, for $20, it could reach between 1,000 and 3,000 people. You can increase or decrease it from there. And again, when you get into the creepiness factor of Facebook, which from a marketing standpoint is helpful, you can create an audience. So I'm going to create an audience. And by creating an audience, you do this so that if you run multiple ads, you don't have to do this each time. Last year, I ran my ads just by default, all people, everybody in my community. And I thought to myself, okay, well, if statistically women are the ones viewing, maybe I should run it just to women or something. But what you can do is you go down here to this, the targeting, and you will find demographics, and you will find parents. And you can focus your ad to all parents. You could get more nitty gritty into certain, certain age ranges, things like that. But the reality is, just this enough is more focused than just putting an ad out to everybody. Now, what Facebook's telling me is I've now chosen something too specific. And this is going to depend really on where you live and how dense of an area you live. So for me, it just means I need to add a few towns around to get that needle back up, just to build up enough people for Facebook to say, yeah, we'll get a good North Brunswick's nice. We'll add them. All right. So now I've got a good audience size defined. If you leave it too specific, they're only going to show your ad to a certain percentage of people, and they're just basically warning you that, hey, not as many people are going to see it. So now I would run an ad to parents who live within 25 miles of these various towns directly around me. So now I have that saved as an audience. You select your days, how many days you want to run it, how much you want to spend. When you select that amount, it won't go over it. So when they've spent that $20, now what counts as a spend is if somebody views for a certain number of seconds, they can consider that to be an impression, and they're guaranteeing you a certain number of impressions for your money. And once you reach that, your ad will stop. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty on how to create an ad and how to use the demographics to fine tune it on people. Again, we want families and children to come out and see our display, so you can kind of focus on them. Now, as far as the results of a couple of my promos, I ran 3 different promotions, each for $20, so I spent $60 total. Facebook also gave me a free $5 boost, which you'll see in a chart in a second. But so for this ad, I spent $20. It reached 1,500 people, of which 873 stuck around long enough for Facebook to count them. It yielded 1 page like, 4 comments, 2 shares. Those 2 shares are probably more valuable than anything because then their friends see it. Another one, when I had my live post, did even better. It reached almost 3,000 people, had 1,400 engagements, 35 post likes, 5 likes to my page, 2 comments, et cetera, et cetera. So while it doesn't seem like a lot, when I look at my overall reach throughout the month of December, the light orange is what they call organic, people who saw my post just because they already liked my page. The dark orange is what I paid to boost. And so you can see the spikes here of the different ad campaigns I ran. In general, I don't run a lot of Facebook posts. I don't post very often. I take the mindset of I don't want to get in these people's way. They come into my house for 20 minutes a year. It's not worth their time filling up their newsfeed. But as you can see, it was for not that much money, a nice little boost to get more people to see my page. Now, Snapchat. Snapchat's interesting. So I'm putting this under the paid category because you need to pay to, I'm about to describe, you do pay for. Now, if you don't know what Snapchat is, it means you don't have kids, nieces, nephews, grandchildren between the ages of 11 and 17. Snapchat allows you to take pictures and do funky things with them. So you can make yourself look like a dog. The one there in the middle is, me after a few beers, and I don't know what the one on the right is. But kids love this stuff. There's all kinds of different filters and things that you can do to yourself to make yourself look goofy, and they share it with their friends. All right, so Brian, what's that have to do with our displays? You can pay for a custom filter. So they have requirements around the design. It can't take up the whole picture. Basically, somebody's going to take a picture, and they're going to be allowed to put your frame around it. I had this frame created through Fiverr.com. If you haven't heard of it, Fiverr.com is a great way for quick logos. They also do voiceovers if you need one in a pinch. But they also somebody there creating Snapchat filters. So I create a filter. I then select through Snapchat an area using GPS fence around my house and around my display. And so people inside this circle who take a picture of my house using the Snapchat app will be able to put this frame around their photo and share it with their friends and family. And I didn't know what to expect when I did this last year. Snapchat told me that 762 people saw the frame, meaning 762 people were standing inside this GPS fence. They took a picture of their Snapchat app, and they saw my frame. Of those, 277 people actually used it. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. That actually came out to over 19,000 people seeing this Weber Family Lights frame, because each of these 277 people had on average 60-some friends. And I thought that was, pretty cool to get exposure out there to 19,000 people. by doing this. Switch back over to the demo for how this works. Snapchat allows you to do this, which is the filter. The lenses are the animated ones that attach to your head. You're not able to upload custom ones. And while they do have ones like reindeer, you don't have much control over the text versus the filter one. You can design and have it say almost anything. There is an approval process, but in general, as long as you meet their criteria of, you can have a frame all the way around it and some on the bottom and not covering up the middle, they will allow it. So when you create a filter, you upload your frame. For now, I'll just choose one of their pre-done ones. You select a date range. December's not available yet. It kind of goes on a rolling, however many 6 months away we are. So, but you select a date range, and you select a time range. And then you set your fence. So I had already set this up. But you type in your address and it draws a box, and then you just use the little arrows. Because it's GPS, I recommend that you kind of widen it out. You don't do just your street. You want to go a little wider. And so for right now, for $72 for a month, between anybody standing here can use your filter. That's actually a lot cheaper than I paid last year for it. I don't know if Snapchat's having financial troubles or what, but that price has come down nicely. What this is really designed for is for weddings and things like that, where you draw a fence around the wedding venue and upload something about marrying your best friend or whatever. But for us, I was able to do that and get a lot of views. So what does that get you? It doesn't get you a lot. I admit that. It's more for fun. It kind of builds your brand. If people have heard of your site, they think that, okay, they see your name. There's limited analytics. There's no link back to your website or something like that. But it's really freaking cool. And it really is, when I'm out handing out candy canes and the kids are like, that's so cool. You have your own Snapchat filter. That's awesome. It just kind of increases the coolness factor. So if you want to have some fun with it, you can use a Snapchat. Create your own Snapchat filter and allow people to use it. As far as how do people know that I have my own Snapchat filter, I have it as a rolling message on my P10 Tune2. I have it mentioned in some of my Facebook posts, and I have it mentioned in some of my announcements. And so as soon as somebody, as soon as a kid's in the car, sitting there bored, watching the lights in here, Snapchat filter, they get all excited and open up their Snapchat app and take a picture of your house and share it. All right, so this is my social media plan, and it can be yours too, or you can, again, follow what you want. But typically what I do is 30 days out is when I'm reaching out to the various blogs to add or confirm my information. These are the mommy blogs, the local tourism blogs, wherever I can find that says, best Christmas light displays in wherever you live. I'll post a teaser post on Facebook, picture of my ladder up on the house, picture of my son zip tying something, whatever the case may be, 30 days out. About a week out, I should be pretty comfortable how many more sleepless nights I'm going to need to get my display actually up and running. So a week out, I'll post to Facebook with our opening date, mention information about our charity, things like that. On opening day, I do a Facebook Live post. I tell everyone to come on down, again, it only lasts about a minute or two. Information about our display, where we're located, name of our charity, come on down, et cetera, et cetera. I then take that post and I will post it to one of the local Facebook community pages. People like it, people share it, get people in the holiday spirit. Throughout the season, I'm checking those community Facebook pages for posts asking where all the cool displays are. Just like the inability of people to search the xLights forums for existing questions, nobody searches the community pages for existing questions. So the same person or different people may post asking where the Christmas light displays are in the same day. And so certainly you can monitor them, post to them, post a link to your site, tell them, hey, come on down, check us out. When things wrap up, share a final post with sharing your total donations if you collected for charity, or just thanking everybody for visiting. And then the rest of the year, there's kind of two trains of thought. One is, what a lot of people do is you sequence 15, 20 seconds for each holiday. You do it in December when you have everything up and you take your videos of it. But then throughout the year, on Valentine's Day, Happy Valentine's Day from Smith Family Lights. And on St. Patrick's Day, the same thing, and et cetera, et cetera. Or you could stay quiet. I take the mindset of I stay quiet. Again, I represent a very small portion of this person's year, and I don't know if they really care about my shipment from DIY LED Express that came in today. and things like that. That's up to you. Now, Facebook does tell you when people unlike your page, don't get sad about it. Some people will unlike it at the end of the season and relike it coming back in the beginning of the new season. But if you post often throughout the year and you see every time you do people unlike your page, maybe it means you're posting too often. All right, so I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions about what I've gone over so far, specifically around social media and stuff, before I get into charity, traffic, neighbors, and other things.
So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself for Ron.
All right. So next I'm going to talk about charity. If you're a fan of The Office, you get this reference. If you don't, then just laugh to yourself. Talking about charities. This is going to be the first time I'm going to share results from that survey that I did. Again, thank you everybody for responding. 66% of you do not currently accept donations for charity. 33% do, and 1% take donations for themselves. Some of the comments that people left, they're thinking about doing it. They accept unwrapped toys for tots, which is great. They haven't, but they're thinking about it, and they're just not sure if it's something that they want to deal with. I think collecting for charity is wonderful. I think it's a great way to give back to the community. A lot of the displays in my area collect for charity, so it's not something where I think I'm nagging them or making people uncomfortable. It's certainly optional. I'm not going out there with a bucket begging people, but I think it's great. When we talk about neighbors, it's also a nice way to maybe diffuse some of your neighbors' concerns. If you're doing things for charity, then it's a little harder for people to want to shut you down, possibly. A charitable organization can also help you drive traffic. They can share your display information on their own social media. When selecting a charity, obviously you don't need to overthink it. I like to choose local charities. If you want to raise money for cancer research, instead of going with a national charity, pick a local oncology unit at a hospital, something like that. I just think it's a nicer connection when you can keep it local. You can use a website called Charity Navigator to validate the financials. What this is, they just make sure that they rank charities based on how much of donations go to administrative costs and things like that. So I can just kind of give you peace of mind that the money that you do get to this charity is actually going to go towards good use and not go to administrative costs. I certainly recommend reaching out to the charity in advance. They can provide you with logos for your P5 or P10. They can provide statements that they like to use. They have their own marketing program, so if you have a voiceover, it'd be nice if you followed the same description that they use. As far as collecting for yourself, I'm going to say it's not the norm. If you do, be sure to clearly indicate that donations are going to you. If you just put a box out, call it donations, and take the money for yourself, I don't think that's the best thing to do. I'll just leave that there. All right. As far as securing the money, which is what people most worried about, there's search the forums. There's all kinds of ideas. I am not a good welder or woodworker or anything. I'm lucky I have a big old tree right on the right in front of my house, or just offset enough where it makes sense to be there. I got a mailbox from Home Depot. Has a nice flip top lid to keep it out of the elements. Got some big old lag bolts. That thing's not coming off. With that being said, I believe that a cheap box emptied every night is more secure than a quote unquote fortified box left alone. If somebody really wants your box, they're going to take it. I'd rather them take my $30 empty box than something that costs a lot. There's some creative designs. There's some designs that the money drops into a PVC pipe deep into the ground, other ways. So depending on your layout, do you have fence posts nearby? Do you need to drive your own fence post in to secure it? Whatever the case may be. A lot of designs out there. Take a picture of the yard, post on the page saying, hey, what would you guys do for a box? And I think that'd be somebody will be able to help you. In this day and age, being a cashless society that we're moving to, make sure you offer a website. A charity may even be able to give you a custom URL to help track specifically for you, but not everybody carries cash around, so you want to be able to give them an option to donate as well. Excuse me one second. Okay. All right. Assuming that you're just the middleman, you should not need to worry about filling out any paperwork or tax forms or anything like that. Excuse me. Um, so at the end of the season, again, you don't need to fill out any tax forms or anything. You don't need to register as a nonprofit or anything like that. If you have concerns about that, or check with your tax your tax advisor. I don't know. Some areas you may need to, but for the most part, as long as you're not collecting any of the money or doing anything, you're just collecting on the behalf of the charity. At the end of the season, combine all the donations into a cashier's check. It's not very nice to drop them off a big bag of pennies and say, "Here you go." If you're lucky, you might be able to get that picture with the big fake check and be able to put it up on your Facebook page. Now, what's interesting is when you send this money, the charity is going to give you a receipt back for their own accounting purposes. They're going to write you a receipt. The reality is that's not your money. That you didn't give that money out of your pocket. So the right thing to do is to not claim that on your taxes as a deduction, because you didn't really. But for their records, they received it from you. So for their own records, that's what they record it down as. But I don't suggest doing that for you. If you are not comfortable collecting cash, as some of you stated, do a canned food drive, do a toy drive, something like that. Again, this nice feeling of giving back. And again, if you're trying to drive traffic to your site, you can think to yourself, this is good. The more people I get to my display, the better that I can help these charitable organizations. All right, traffic. All right, so Brian, I followed all your great ideas. I have all these followers on Facebook, and I got all these cars. Now what am I supposed to do? So based on the responses, almost 70% of us don't have to worry about traffic. 23% have to during peak times, the weekends leading up to Christmas. Maybe you need to go out and just keep people from running each other over. But about 10% of you have, enough have built up enough of an audience that you and your volunteers need to go out and help direct traffic most of the time. So of the comments, the kind of the top comment around that is they have up to an hour and a half wait, and they have 10 volunteers to help direct traffic. Children of old enough age that and their friends that can help direct traffic are a great way to keep things moving. Other people said they have few cars at peak times, but don't have to really worry about it. Or again, some combination of, on certain night, busy Friday night or Saturday night, right before Christmas, you might need to go out and just help. So I'm going to tell you a story about how traffic can be beyond your control. So these are two houses. One of them is my house on the right. The other house on the left is 0.3 miles away. Now, they were on Great Light Fight 2 years ago. It was the two young kids who were the youngest contestants ever, even though their dad's the one who set it all up, and they just took it over. But anyways, good kids. Don't let bad editing make you hate them. So they've been doing it for a little longer than me, but even before the Great Light Fight, they had some traffic issues. On the left is their display, traditionally an AC-focused display. A lot of stuff, looks really cool. On the right's my somewhat humble, but I'm pretty proud of display. Now, the issue is the house on the left has had to come to an agreement with the town on reduced hours. They have to pay a permitting fee to close the street. And while there is some inconvenience having to walk up the street, it does actually allow more people to view the show at the same time, which I'll explain in a second. For me, little old me, 0.3 miles away, I still get a good amount of traffic, but I haven't had to do anything with my town. I have a nice wide street, room for cars on both sides, and still room for pass through. I live on a short street, and things like that. So the reason why there's such a difference between our houses is just through dumb luck, in that they are on a cul-de-sac, and I am not. So Google's actually wrong here. This green line here represents their house. This is my house. There's a main street between us here. But the challenge for them is because of a cul-de-sac, they have all these houses that, one, are directly facing the house and their driveways. On my side, I really only have two houses that are what I call directly impacted by my show. This house here and this one here. This house is faced away, and most of my traffic comes down this road and comes down this way. So these houses here really are not impacted that much. This house here, my neighbors love me. I bought them a traffic cone because they had mentioned one time that they couldn't get out of their driveway, and so they'll put the traffic cone up to block it off on nights when they know that they need to get out. They're very appreciative of that. This house is the new wild card. The previous owners that lived there were old and never left and didn't really care. Now it's been for sale and they're renovating it. So I haven't introduced myself to these people yet, but we'll see if I follow my own advice and get them to not hate me. So the challenge with this display on the left is because being in a cul-de-sac, traffic would back up. What they did is they used to have cars back in like about 6 or 7 at a time, and everybody else kind of had to wait. And this wait created a lot of idling and a lot of issues. So as they grew big, again, even before they're on Great Light Fight, the town approached them and said, you need to pay a permitting fee to have your cul-de-sac blocked off and have a off-duty police officer there to help direct traffic and things like that. At first, they were bummed, but there's plenty of parking around here. It's not that long of a walk. And the reality is actually improved things. So now these neighbors are relatively happy. The ones that still complain about the light themselves are annoyed. But from a traffic perspective, they can actually fit more people. Instead of having 6 people view this display at a time, there could be 20, 30, 40 people hanging out. Turns into this little party atmosphere in the parking lot. Again, for me, I'm lucky. I sit on a corner. I have this short street with very few houses. Cars come down here. They queue up, they stop, they watch the display. And when they're done, they keep going and go on their way. So just through, beyond anybody's control, I've been lucky in that even as my show gets bigger and bigger, I don't foresee this becoming too much of an issue. Now, you can't control that. What can you control? You can control your playlist length. In general, a shorter playlist is a quicker turnover of cars. The other thing I don't recommend, and I see it posted from time to time, is people that say, I'm going to run a show at the top and bottom of my hour. The reality is people are going to show up when they want, and they're going to leave when they want. And if you force them into these 2 time slots, you're just going to build up traffic. My show has a starting announcement. It has some other stuff. It has an ending announcement, but it just loops continuously. And I do recommend that. It allows people to turn over more easily, get people in, get people out. If you do the top of the hour, bottom of the hour thing, I think you're inviting yourself for additional traffic problems or just annoyances. People show up and then they have to wait, a complete other cycle to hear the rest of the songs. The reality is, because the cars are going to show up, sometimes they're going to stay for a song and leave. Sometimes they're going to stay for the entire show based on when they showed up. They might stay for an hour just because your show is so awesome. Now, as far as traffic flow, you can mention on your Facebook pages, please park, please enter from this street and exit on this street. You can use yard signs to direct traffic. The reality is people won't always follow it, but you can do your best to try to do that. I suggest having an emergency traffic reduction playlist. On high traffic nights, you should have a playlist ready that maybe takes out a song or two. In between my songs, I have these cute little, they're movie clips or minions singing Jingle Bells. I take those out and I get my playlist down to under 20 minutes. Actually, it's around 16, 17 minutes for my emergency playlist. And that's when traffic's really getting bad and you just want to get people in and out more quickly. You keep your popular songs, but again, that can help mitigate traffic issues and building up. Because if traffic builds up, you're going to have upset neighbors, and upset neighbors could lead to the town knocking on your door. Another idea, and I'm actually tried doing this because I like to keep my show to about 25 minutes at the most, but I've started to, either sequence my own songs or purchase more songs than would fit into that. I'm thinking about this year doing kind of the radio method, which is you have your top hits that play more frequently and then around them different songs. So to do in like an A-B playlist, let's say you have 2 different TSO songs or 2 different Lindsey Stirling songs. Maybe you have a playlist with your favorites and then one of those, and then another playlist with also your favorites, but different ones. Just the thought of me trying to figure out a way to have a relatively short playlist, but also be able to display more songs. Which brings us to neighbors. So with traffic comes neighbors. My best advice for neighbors is to be proactive. I send a letter out to my neighbors, the people, kind of around that might be impacted by cars waiting 30 days in advance. Hey, I'm putting on my display this year. It's going to run from this date to this date, from this hour to this hour. Again, this is where if you're collecting money for a charity, can kind of take the wind out of their sail if they're mad at you. It's like, hey, appreciate last year we raised this, so we look to do even more this year. It's for a great cause. The neighbors directly across the street from me, they get a gift basket with wine. Now, whether that's helped them stay out of my face or just dumb luck, I don't know, but I think it's the right thing to do. And by sending out this letter, I include my cell phone number, I include my email address, and I said, please, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. That's kind of it's putting them on the hook to reach out to you. You've given them an opportunity, you've told them, and now it's up to them. And if they have any serious concerns, maybe they'll reach out to you. If they kind of grumble to themselves, maybe they'll just keep your cell phone on their fridge in case someday they really need it. But otherwise, I think being proactive about this is I think, the best way to handle this. I'm humble. Like I said, my neighbors made a comment about, there's one night they were hoping to get out of their driveway a little quicker, and eventually they were able to, et cetera, et cetera. So I went on Amazon, I bought them some traffic cones. And they're very appreciative. They didn't ask, but they're very appreciative, and that helps keep my neighbor, who's literally directly across the street from me, keeps them happy, which keeps me happy. But what if your neighbors are jerks? And this is the problem with, regardless of what you do, there's some neighbors are jerks, and there's not a lot you can do. They will do things like park their car in front of your house. They will move garbage cans in front of your house. I could turn the floor over to Ron, and he could write a book about all the things that he has seen his neighbors do. Best thing to do: try to stay professional, document conversations and interactions, and of course, everybody watched the xEssentials a couple weeks ago about setting up a video. So you guys all have a video camera on your display, and you can capture your neighbors doing anything. There's no silver bullet here. There's no magic thing that can help if you have a neighbor who's a jerk. You just try to go about your business, and show must go on. Which kind of leads us to City Hall. In general, if you keep your neighbors happy, your town's probably going to stay out of your face. The only reason why town would probably get involved is if there's a neighbor complaint. Now, as far as from the survey, vast majority of us have no issue with our town. A few of us, the town has some kind of reasonable restrictions, such as sound levels or hours of operation, and nobody checked the box for town requires significant fees or significant restrictions. Some of the comments are, I live out in the middle of nowhere. I don't have to worry about it. The second point here is great. City is aware of my light show and today to support us since the toy drive. We have a toy drive which supports the city fire department. Again, great way to use the charity giving to also help keep your display up and running without upsetting people. Somebody here mentioned about stopping traffic on the cul-de-sac. I will say, at least in the experience of my neighbor across the street, closing off the road, closing off the cul-de-sac was actually a good thing. It helped create more of a fun party atmosphere, allowed more people to see it. So you might want to give it a shot. Things like that. So reasons why your town might get involved. Now, keep in mind, based on the survey, very few of us have actually had to get involved in this. But when these stories happen, they tend to make the news, war on Christmas and things like that. So it does happen. Your town might get involved for light pollution. This can be especially pertain to moving heads, blinders, outward-facing floods, whatever you want to call them. Sound, if you have speakers outside and the sound's too loud, there's probably a very specific ordinance on decibels at certain hours of the night. And then traffic. And I think the big one where towns get involved is if they feel that first responders cannot quickly get down your street, they are possibly going to step in. You can mitigate this by signage or cones, volunteers, things like that. And then finally, you kind of have this nuisance claim. And this is kind of a catch-all for neighbors, in theory, could take you to civil court under a kind of a generic nuisance claim, whether it's traffic, whether it's sound, whatever the case may be. The reality is the case law on this is inconsistent. When I was researching this, there's some cases that people were found to be able to put on their displays. Others, they were found that they had to impose restrictions. What's interesting is kind of the famous Osborne lights, which eventually became the Disney property. The reality is they were not very conducive to following the law. They had neighbors file a lawsuit against them. And their response, instead of being humble and offering to, maybe if I, turn down the brightness, they didn't have turned down the brightness back then, but you know what I mean? Instead of saying, let me work with you, they added 3 million more lights. Because of that, they're actually found guilty for contempt of court because the court ordered them to downsize their display. The court said they can have a display. They just came to an agreement on reducing it by a certain amount. They chose not to, and they were found in contempt of court. Now, they were given a fine. He was given a 10-day prison sentence that was suspended and never actually served. So the court actually shut them down. The moral of the story here, but they were eventually saved by Disney until Disney shut it down. The moral of the story here is if it gets to the point where your town is involved, you need to be prepared for some kind of compromise. And the courts have consistently found that you do have a right to put on a display, but you're going to probably need to compromise in some way. This may be restricted hours. This may be you run your animated show, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the rest of the days you run a static show. This may be requiring you to pay a permitting fee to shut down roads. Every case is unique. Every case is going to pertain to you, your town, etc. But as far as the courts go, there is a precedent for requiring some kind of compromise. And if you decide to fight that, they could shut you down. But no more doom and gloom. The reality is that, again, most of us have not had issues with our towns to worry about. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here. In summary, you want to create a Facebook page for your display. Even if you're not actively promoting it, it's a great way to communicate with your viewers. Promote as much as you want. If you're new and starting out, promote to the world. If you find that you've got enough traffic, you don't want to worry about it anymore, reach out to those same blogs and ask that your listing be removed. There's another display near me who's been doing it for a long time. They used to list with the various blogs, and now they don't. And so now whoever knows about it goes and visits them, but they don't get any new people. So you can kind of control how much you put yourself out there. Collect for a charity. Don't be afraid. It's a great feeling. Even if it's going to be a couple $100s, who cares? It's a great feeling. Every once in a while you see news stories about a charity box getting stolen. Empty it every night, and you won't have that problem. Manage your traffic with a short playlist. Treat your neighbors with respect. And if you ever get to the point of having to work with your town, be open to a fair compromise, and you can keep your show going. All right. I covered a lot, but hopefully I summarized it up pretty quick. I hope you guys have some ideas for promoting your show and can get some traffic, and that traffic yields to charitable donations, or otherwise just kind of a good feeling that all the hard work that we do, week in and week out, is rewarded. So I will now shut up and see if there's any questions I can answer.
Okay. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions you might have.
Can you go over the Google location thing again real quick?
Sure.
Where you claim that address or something?
Yeah. So we are here. So you go to Google Maps and you right click and choose add a missing place. So here, let me so let's say, out in the middle of this swamp here was my new display. You could right click, add a missing place. You put in the name, the address, whatever the case may be. And by submitting it, it will create it. Then once you have done that, you can claim it. So if I go here and I search for Weber Family Lights, here I am. And it comes up with this posting now. So because I created the display by doing add a missing place. Let's say my neighbor gets involved in this, and then I click on claim. There's a couple steps. What's the name of your business? Things like that.
Right. Do you have to be hovering over your address when you right click, or can you be anywhere on the map?
You should be over your address. You want to be.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you want to be where the pin is. So I've already done it for mine. And then so once you claim it, then I can go here and I can administer this page. I can add hours of operation. I can do different things with it.
Great, thanks a lot, Brian.
Well, one thing I might want to mention with that is that once you do it, it does take a little bit of time. Sometimes for Google to pick it up, it can take up to 3 months. And once Google gets it, they report it, and it'll be on all of the mapping services. So Even if you use Apple or Yahoo or anything else, they all share data. So a lot of times it goes universal.
Yeah.
Okay, are there other questions for Brian?
Hey, Brian, I have a question about that same topic. I just followed your instructions, and it turns out somebody's already claimed my house as Burton Christmas lights, and I didn't do that. So it's got me as a museum right now, and it looks like that the open and closing times are correct.
Now, does it allow you to claim this business? Is that link available?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, because somebody could create it, but all right, you should probably reach out to Google on that one. Somebody probably created it to be nice. Okay, again, somebody created an Instagram hashtag for me before I even knew it. So somebody might have created it as a location. As far as the claiming piece, I'm surprised that somebody else. The only way to claim it is if, again, Google's going to send a postcard to the actual address. So I wonder if there still might be a way for you to be able to claim that as your own and be able to edit it and administer it.
Okay, I'll look at that. I think I just found that. Yeah, the claim this business. That's what you click on.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. No, it does have that, and I'm clicking on it now. So I don't know if my daughter she's into Snapchat, and she may have done something with that. I don't guess Snapchat does it. I guess it's strictly through Google. Is that right?
Yeah, Snapchat's not related to this. So yeah, somebody created it. Now, when you click on that claim, you put in a little bit more information. It will in a week or so, you'll get a postcard from Google with a PIN number. You log back in, put in that PIN number, and then you tie that to your Google account, your Gmail account, or whatever. And then you are then the administrator of that location. You can set the hours, you can upload the pictures, things like that.
Sure. And I will say about what you were talking about with the playlist. I live on a cul-de-sac as well. And I live just down the road from Tom Langley, and there's a couple of others that are going to be coming online as well that are kind of in our same county here in the South Metro Atlanta area. And it gets the week or so before it. And also I'm a school teacher, a band director, so I have 250 kids that they tell their parents, and then they tell their friends, and then that kind of goes that way. And can go south real quick with the traffic. So the playlist idea that you mentioned, man, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And even though my daughter complains at me when she has people from the north side of Atlanta drive down from the college that she attends, when they come down and see a 5-minute playlist, I tell them, please come during the week, and I'll have a longer playlist, which my playlist maybe 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes at best. But on a normal night when it's pretty busy, and we're getting, 200 and on some nights 350, maybe even more cars per night. My playlist is sometimes 5 to 7 minutes max. And I'll chop the songs down to a minute and a half, 2 minutes and a half at best, and that's worked for me for the past couple of years. So I don't think enough people talk about shorter playlists. I keep seeing people add, which is kind of sad. You don't get to see your work that you've done on your sequencing, but the flip side of that is, like you said, you got to keep your neighbors happy. So anyway, that's it. Great presentation. Thanks.
Thank you.
The xLights project exists because of people like you. Help continue the project by making a donation today at xlights.org/donate.